Welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wide the world over the platform they deserve. I am your host, Nathan Ragland, and sorry to bug you, but I have a great chat for you today. Today we have Quill, better known as Idolomantises, a webcomic artist whose characters from Plague Doctors and Bugs, among other sources, have garnered widespread love in the internet community. I really enjoyed this conversation, and hearing them just going on about these characters that they love was an absolute treat, and I hope you enjoy them and support them in the links below. If you enjoyed the podcast, you should like, share, comment, and subscribe, or follow the podcast on whatever streaming platform you prefer to catch up on more weekly conversations with incredible artists. You can also support the podcast by going to the merch shop and repping the podcast with some stylish streetwear at pmap.creator-spring.com. Also, you can talk more about the podcast and more in the Apocalypse Podcast Network Discord server, where you can hear more about this podcast and other outstanding ones in the network. In fact, let's hear about another tantalizing podcast in the Apocalypse Podcast Network.
Greetings from Chromatica,
home of Lady Gaga,
liberator of kindness punks,
mother of little monsters,
Tricon of the ages.
We are her best fans,
with a mission
to create a podcast celebrating our hero.
Broadcasting straight from Chromatica.
This podcast is about Lady Gaga, for Lady Gaga.
But anyone can listen.
It doesn't matter if you love him or capital H-I-M.
Prove your stupid love.
Ace the art pop quiz.
Put your paws up.
And download the Chromaticast wherever you get your podcasts.
Join us
every other Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern,
4 p.m. Pacific
for our live tapings
at twitch.tv/Apocalypse Podcast Network.
And now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. How you doing on this day?
I am very tired.
I do not blame you.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I don't want to say it's like super eventful, but I don't know. I've just been working a lot.
No.
This is kind of like a slow day, so yeah.
I got you. Nah, trust me, my weekend has just been like, I'm tired, but I shouldn't be tired because I haven't really done a whole lot.
Yeah.
Part of it is because for me, I have to like mess up my sleep schedule because work is getting where I work at, they're getting rid of my shift and they're putting me on a different shift, so I have to readjust my sleep schedule to be acquainted with that shift.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that kind of stuff. That's actually why I was just like, I don't want to, I just stopped having a job because because I was just like, I'm not that flexible when it comes to like changing up my sleep schedule.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes like I know like with jobs, like they kind of expect you to be like, oh, I love this job. I'll do anything for this job. So they're probably like thinking like, oh, they're probably going to say morning or maybe like afternoon. Like, oh no, I'm working late. I don't want to wake up early for this stuff.
Like at one point our shift had like 20 people working it. And I think as of Thursday, which was the last shift, there was only like 6.
Jeez.
Yeah, because some of the people like they chose the night shift because they were working a day job as well. Yeah. So it's like they couldn't work with that new slanted shift BS or whatnot. My dad says it perfectly. It's one of those, whenever it comes to any sort of job, you work to live, you don't live to work.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm. At least when it comes to like a menial job like what I'm doing, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This is really an honor to just even chat with you, so.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that means a lot. I always hear stuff like that, like, oh, they like my post. I'm so excited about this, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I know I have like a big following and stuff, but it's just like I still kind of try to humble myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good mentality, nevertheless, because one of those, like, if you get too much in your head, like, Lord knows what happens. I talked about this with a previous guest. I don't know if you're aware of like Hasbin Hotel and all that stuff, but I talked with the co-writer Dave Capdeville.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how like he used to work at like a butcher shop and all this stuff before like really going all in with all this writing stuff that he's currently doing. And he's like, like anytime I ever think like I might be getting too big of a head, he always thinks back on working that crappy like
Yeah.
butcher job, and it's like
Yeah.
I know where I came from. I don't want to be back there.
Yeah. 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 I like that kind of mindset, because I feel like when because like it feels good to like empower yourself in a way like, oh, I'm so talented, or I got this special job, or I'm getting paid well, blah blah this. But like it really does, like when you get too much of an ego, really does like transform you in like a
Yeah.
really unpleasant way.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it's sad to see how like quickly it makes people like think they're like the hot shit when they're really
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to apologize if you hear background noises because we got family friends over. The kid, my sister and her kids, like that.
Mm.
Plus, we have 6 dogs in this house, so if you hear dogs
Oh
barking,
no.
yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. Honestly, I was actually gonna apologize too because I was like, this house I'm in is very small and there's noise. Sometimes noise is kicking. I was gonna be like, oh, I'm so sorry if that happens, but I'm glad both of our ends are having noise problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As well as if nothing else, if I don't think it should be too loud. Like if I'll probably notice it because I listen to the stuff when I'm editing it, or whenever I re-listen to it because I love listening to my podcast. That's not egotistical. That's just the quality
Yeah,
that I
no,
enjoy.
see, it's like that's that good ego. It's like, yeah, I like listening to my stuff. I like
Yeah.
looking at my stuff. Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. It's one of those like I imagine like especially with you with your stuff. I mean, you don't just like you can correct me if I'm wrong. You don't just push stuff out there. Really try to push stuff out there. Like there's a genuine love with the
Yeah.
strips that you're making and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, for a brief moment,
Mm-hmm.
I would say like last year, there was kind of like I had a mutual who would like post art like every single day, and in my head I was just like, oh my god, she's so productive, she's so fast with this stuff. I got to be the same. And so there was that brief moment. I think for like a month or two, I kept trying to pump out art like almost daily, but it like never worked out because it's like when you force yourself at that point, it's like uh you're making like just like I sometimes I felt like some of the content during that time was just kind of mediocre. I know people
Right.
still like it, but I was still just like I wasn't satisfied with what I was making. It wasn't getting the engagement I was wanting. And it made me kind of because like this was like when I was doing that, this was like when I was like just like exploding in
Yeah.
popularity. I think I got like 40K followers at that time. So my brain was just like, oh, well, I just have to keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. And even though I still did what I love, I wasn't really satisfied with that. So after that, I was just like, oh, okay, I need to relax. I need to actually just stay focused on what I want to draw and draw just like what I care about. So like I still drew what I wanted, but like I wanted to give myself more time. If I was like, I'm not satisfied with this drawing, I want to maybe sleep on it or like give it a couple hours. Like I don't want to just go like just keep drawing. Oh, I don't like it. Yeah, I'll just keep drawing
Yeah, it's one of
like
those
that.
like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like especially the stuff that you're probably just like pumping out just to pump stuff out there. Like you've probably gone back and looked at that stuff and be like, if I just had a little bit more time, I know we would make
Yeah.
it
Oh,
better more than anything else.
oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, trust me, it's one of those like I see like all the different occasions of it. I've seen many different forms of art where people have said, hey, I was just pushing stuff out just to push stuff out, and I totally
Yeah.
get that more than anything else. So,
Yeah.
all right, Quill. Before we get started, I must ask the icebreaker question I ask for every single podcast. What is your most unpopular art opinion?
Unpopular art opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Let me see. What's like a really spicy take? I think my takes are mostly lukewarm. But yeah, because I don't know. I should not say that because like I'm kind of infamous for saying some really spicy stuff. I would okay, unpopular art opinion. I would say that I don't think there's anything. This might not be spicy. I don't think there's like anything morally wrong with an artist being very focused on popularity.
Okay.
I think that it's pretty normal for someone who feels passionate about something to want it to do well because I think for a lot of people they just kind of have that mindset of like, oh, if you just do what you care about, eventually the people will come and stuff. And I'm just like, I encourage people to really like explore what they like, what they care about, because it always ends up being more beneficial than being like, okay, well, I'll just draw fan art of like this anime that has like a big fandom, and then I'll keep my following because like people can really tell when you don't care about something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think being very focused on gaining popularity is not really that bad. I think it only becomes a problem when one, you treat that like uh it's something that's owed to you. Like you're in your head, you're like, well, people owe I own these followers. I deserve more followers, or uh or like when people make posts or like I don't know if you see those tweets that's like regular me realistic artist and then like 15-year-old curvy girl with big boobs and then 20,000 followers, like that insane stuff. Like it's always like you never want to have that passion to feel petty. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I guess it's just like, if it's just like a regular like any other hobby, it's like when you play soccer, there's no harm in being like, I want to be professional, I want to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really see anything hard with caring about getting a big following. I just think, you always want to be healthy about it, where you don't want to make it like too much of your life, too focused on it, because it's very obvious, like when you focus too much on popularity, you sometimes even lose that passion, because you're just like, why should I do what I care about when I could do what people want out of me? And that's, that always doesn't work out. But yeah, I guess that's my best spicy take that there is. Most of my other ones are just like, they're basic, like, don't feel too bad when you don't get a lot of attention on your work. Algorithms aren't your friend, all that kind of stuff.
Trust me, it's something that I struggle with here and there, but at the same time, and this is a mentality I've had since like day one of doing this podcast. Like, if you're going to go in this kind of field, like especially entertainment based, so art in general, like don't do it just so you can get the attention of people. Don't do it just to gain that following.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's going to be opportunities, hopefully, to where you'll get like the money eventually at some point if
Yeah.
that's something that you really want to do. But that's the key right there. You can't just do it just to get a following, just to get that money.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
gotta do it because you have to have a genuine love for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
You really have to like passion for it. Yeah.
yeah, and that should be the case with any sort of career that you kind of go into, because anyone can attempt to be a doctor, but if you don't honestly love it or whatnot, then you're just gonna be miserable being a doctor.
Yeah. 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 That's what I mean. So I hope that didn't sound like, oh, it's fine if you don't care about what you do. But I think you got what I meant, though. Like, yeah. I think that it's okay to be like, I really want to get popular, but like, you never want to let that consume your whole life or something like that.
You
Like,
never want that to be the driving force behind what you
yeah,
want
exactly.
to do.
Yeah. It's like, there's no harm in wanting that as a goal. That should not be like, what drives you, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I know you said that was a hot take, but that's a strong opinion that I have more than anything else.
Okay.
So,
Dang, did I mess this up?
if nothing else, then if that's considered an unpopular opinion, then I'm the most unpopular person ever, which is probably more truth than fiction.
Don't say that.
But nevertheless, basically, don't let the attention be the driving force. Is that a hill that you're willing to die on?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Then if that's the case, I can't think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to subscribe or follow whatever streaming platform you prefer. I'm a part of the Apocalypse Podcast Network. Go to apocalypsepodcastnetwork.com for more about this podcast and other outstanding ones in the network. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. They are a webcomic artist whose specialty is stunning and engaging characters from unique sources of inspiration. Welcome to the podcast, bug enthusiast Quill, aka Idolomantises.
Yay! Thank you for having me here.
I hope I didn't butcher any of that up.
You did not. You did a good job. Yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you.
I'm glad the camera was not on me, because I was like, whenever I get praised, I just like, I look away in embarrassment, because it's just like, oh, it's so nice. Stop.
Well, I mean, if you're not really used to getting praised, then I'm sorry, you came to the wrong podcast, because I'm going to be doing a whole lot of praising.
Gosh, yeah.
But before I divulge too much into showering you with just a million different praises, I want to go back just a little bit. I want to know the origin stories of Quill. What got you interested in art in the first place?
Man, I was like obsessed with art since I was like 4. Like my mom was making jokes. Like I used to like draw on the walls when I was like, when I could just walk, because I was just like, I just loved art. I was so obsessed with art. I think what might have driven it was just there's kind of like I had like a really big fascination with just like creating something,
Okay.
creating ideas, creating characters, creating stories, all that kind of stuff. Oh, when I was like 10 years old, I remember going around my school telling people I have this amazing comic that's coming out that I drew all on like my sketchbook that was like 100 pages. And
Oh
then I bought
wow.
another sketchbook to add more pages. And I was so upset. But then, like, because I'm such a perfectionist, this took me a whole year. And then when the year was done, so your art evolves. So I remember looking at that sketchbook and I threw it away
Oh
because I felt
wow.
embarrassed. I know. I was so embarrassed. I was like, why was I so proud of this? This is so dumb, so cringe, whatever, whatever. Um, but and I do kind of wish I kept it because it was just it was really bad. But I just loved how bad it was. But yeah, I would just say like you know, books, it was cartoons, it was literally like anything that had to do with art. I was fascinated with it. Like even like box art for like cereal mascots. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
a cartoon character with cereal. It was just like it was just so fascinating for me. I could not stop obsessing over it. Even like on my Twitter, I put that like when I was like in elementary school, I used where schools had like chalk and
Hmm.
wow, the schools have chalk. But we brought it out for recess, and I remember that like every single day, maybe not every single day, but I remember a lot of days I would be outside on the grass just drawing like all the time, like because I just like I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to draw. I just obsessed with drawing.
That's sweet. That's great. It's great to hear that that spark was like really strong at a very young age, if nothing else. Um, Sidetrack here. You mentioned it. Box art for the cereal mascots or whatnot. What is the most aesthetically pleasing one in your opinion?
Ooh, I think either Toucan Sam
Okay.
or Tony the Tiger. I remember, oh my god, I remember. I know everyone's like, oh, I had to he's so hot, whatever. But I remember I was just like really fixated on him, and it's like hard to explain, but like I liked how like it was just kind of funny because like the rest of the city mascots they were very cutesy and cartoony
Right.
and goofy looking, but he was like buff, he was like huge, and I was like, there was like a point where like I was just eating the cereal just so I could look at him because I was like, this is like yeah, I love this body. I love this anatomy. It's so good looking, and not in like a oh that's attractive, but like
Right.
attractive in
Right.
like an appealing way. Yeah, yeah,
Like I said, aesthetically pleasing. It's just one of those
yeah.
like you had all
Aesthetically
these
pleasing.
cutesy little ones, and then you have basically the unstoppable force of Tony the Tiger,
Yeah, the big man himself.
the
Yeah,
absolute unit.
yeah, yeah.
So, with this basically love that you've had from like a young age, when did you go from that just like love and wanting to draw and everything to a passion and potentially making it your career?
I would say it was kind of like a slow progress. I think around middle school, I got um or not was it middle school, yeah, middle school, late elementary school, like remember that comic I mentioned, like it was like when I made that comic that was like right after I had my first comic from like Warrior Cats. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I know what warrior cats are.
Yeah, yeah, there was one for a character named Skirt. I don't want to make this too long, but like there was one
It's a
for a character
podcast.
named
Make it as long as you
Skirt.
want.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, that's true. There was one for this character named Scourge, and I actually never read Warrior Cats until like I was in seventh grade.
Okay.
But I saw that, yeah, I know. So I don't know why I read this manga. Well, okay, it was cats, and I was just so fascinated by the art, and like that fascination was almost obsessive. Like I remember I would go to the library to get the book and I wouldn't even read it. I did read it, but then after that I would not read it because I was just looking at the art. I was looking at like how they would show emotion or like
Mm-hmm.
lines, action scenes, and then that made me want to go, I want to make a comic. And then when I that was when I was working on that really long comic that took me a whole year. And I was just like it was like a point where like I was just like anytime I saw something animated I would be like, oh my god, I need to put that in my comic. That is so genius. Like for some reason, like Tangled was like a huge. Well, I mean, it makes sense why it was obsession, but like stuff in Tangled ended up in my comic,
Okay.
and usually not even on purpose. Just I was just like, man, this is a cool scene. I should put this scene, and it's like, oh, that's like from the ending of the movie. But after that, I kept trying to make new comics. Oh, there was like this account called Disney Create. I don't know if you heard of this one. It was called Disney Create. It shut down like 5 years ago. It was a while ago.
Okay.
And that's actually when I started doing basically web comics. They had
Okay.
this like, yeah, they had this like comic. They had like different apps. I think they called them apps. It was like different things you could do. You could do like regular paintings. You could do like music videos. But there was one for making comics.
Okay.
And I remember it was like, I sometimes have a big ego when I look at other comics. I don't know. I mean, I do know why. It's just like I always feel very proud of my work. And like, I guess like 11 to 12-year-old me was just like looking at these comics. I was like, oh, wow, whatever. I mean, girls in high school, I mean, I can do so much better. And then my comic that got like was a huge success that a lot of people saw was just a Warrior Cats ripoff. Like this thing I was so proud of was just me ripping off of Warrior Cats. But it was like really popular. And it was just like so many people were asking for more, and I was really excited to do more. But like around the time it got popular, Disney Create was like close to shutting down. But they did it in a weird way where like I couldn't publish anything. So every time I tried to work on a page, it would always restart. So or not restart, it would not let me publish it. So it was just like stuck in limbo basically. But I was really obsessed with expanding that comic. And I remember there was fan art too. I remember some of my like one of my earliest characters. There's actually a character I'm making for a webcomic right now.
Okay.
The webcomic's kind of on pause right now, but it was like they were like I was just like I wasn't popular, and then I'm popular, and now people are carrying my characters. And this one character, like people just started really interested in, and they were asking about his story and all this stuff, and I was like, man, I don't really have a story. But then I was like, I could drip feed information, and I remember like because like I was using DeviantArt at the same time, and DeviantArt had that whole like ask the character thing.
Yeah.
So because like the comics weren't working anymore, I was just like, okay, I can do character expansion in a way. So it's like, what's your favorite color? And then I would have him it was Vern. That was the character I'm talking about for my webcomic. Vern would say something, but he'd say something really ominous. Like it'd be like, what's your favorite color? He'd say red, but then like he'd show his like this image of like these like vaguely pictured like horses like screaming, and it's like it makes you kind of want to more intrigued. And I really like doing stuff like that, like just like convincing people to get more interested in that stuff. So it was the same with like uni, all that stuff. But then like later on, it got shut down. So so I was on DeviantArt, and DeviantArt I tried, and I think Tumblr maybe, yeah, I think Tumblr. Tumblr and DeviantArt was like basically my second go.
Okay.
So DeviantArt still did the ask the character thing, but then like a few years later, I think I was 15, I wanted to start my webcomic. But I had literally no plan for it. It was just like I was just like, oh, he's going fishing. Why is he going fishing? Because he wants. Why is he fishing in a tree? He's trying to fish for birds with meat. It was just like I really had no plan. Even from the start, like I never had a plan. I just made stuff as I went along. But when you get older, you get you kind of get more knowledge from your past decisions. So I scrapped that, and I just kind of like decided to just kind of work on it from behind the scenes and just do other art. And then fast forward. I don't know if I want to talk about this part because my mom's going to listen to this soon, so she wouldn't want me to mention this, but something happened, so I couldn't really do something very important, so I started to focus more on my art and my comics. Not comics, just my art. My art was just like, it still was not like a job for me. I mean, I was doing like commissions, but it was sort of like a hobby than like anything more important. But it was when I drew the Plague Girlfriends, the Plague GFs, and that like got super popular.
Yeah.
It gave me kind of like it was so popular. I think that's still my most popular drawing. It gave me this like massive ego boost. It made me be like, I'm unstoppable. I can't do anything wrong. And then my next drawing only gets like 2K likes. I was like, oh my god, I'm a horrible artist. I was like, wait, no, I need to relax. Okay. And I was like thinking to myself, just like, what am I gonna do next? Because I'm still working on that webcomic. I could tease that, but I don't want to tease that if I don't even know when it's gonna finish.
Right.
But I kind of was like, plague doctors are actually cool, but in my head, I had this whole problem where I was like, there's stuff I like to draw, but there's stuff I really want to draw. So I was like, I like to draw fan art, but I really like drawing my OCs, my original characters. But when I saw like that drawing got a huge boost in likes, in my head, I was just like, you know what? I could really do something with this. I don't know what yet. But I felt like I was like, I'm gaining followers fast. I want to keep that following. I want to keep them interested, but I
Right.
don't want to like give them something that I don't care about. So when I write a character, I always try to think about. I usually most of the time I try to think about the personality before the design. The
Right.
play girlfriends, I had no actually plan for them. I didn't even think I was gonna draw them ever again, but people were very interested in them. So I was just like, it actually reminded me of my Disney Create days because when I made Vern, I did not care about him that much. I used him for like personal art, but I didn't really care much about his story until people asked about it. And
Right.
then, so when people asked about those characters, I was just like, I could draw more of them, but I can't just draw them hanging out. I could give them a personality. I could give them something to develop with. So I did my next drawing, and that next drawing with them got nearly 100K likes as well. So as I went on, I was just like, I think I'm going to, because it's like my thought process just is like I still didn't know what I was doing, but I felt like I was getting an idea because I when I drew that drawing, that was when the pandemic started, and I
Right.
was very very upset. I was really pissed actually, because there was just so many lost opportunities, and that's why I made those girls. I was basically vent art. It was just like art I made when I was upset to vent, and this art I was just like, I was really emotional. I could do something with that. It's like, oh, let me draw them being cute. Let me draw them flirting. Let me draw them making jokes. And I realized like people really like this stuff. And then like I drew my first time having like not first time. Oh my god, I have like a lot of stuff, but my first time drawing like bug people and it blowing up was the moth girlfriends, the pink and black ones, which are Dahlia and Zinnia.
Mm-hmm.
That one got really popular. Um, and when that got popular, that was like basically solidified to me that like I can make content that I want to make, that I can make original art and people are going to care about it. So that was basically the start of just like me being more focused on my original content. And then I wouldn't have to think to myself, oh, I got to give people all this fan art, but then they'll care about my OCs. It's like, if I want to make fan art, I can make fan art, but like, I can make all these original characters and people can care about that. And that's when, like, I set up my Patreon, I set up all this stuff, I set up a shop, I sold like two uh, plushy, what do they call it? Campaigns with makeshift.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So it was just like, it was practically like I was waiting for a moment like this. Like I really wanted a moment where I could really make something off my art and also have people really appreciate the kind of content I'm making.
There we go. There we go. First of all, I just want to go ahead and just goodness, because you just went through basically your entire catalog right there.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry.
No. That is perfectly fine. See, I was gonna say like one of the major things I love with this podcast, and I've said this in other places before, is when a guest like gets to that point to where they basically have tunnel vision, to where they're like all in on their passion, like their journey, more or less, stuff like that. And I could tell, especially as you're talking about this stuff, like the love and passion you've had that's been like years in the making to where you are right
Yeah,
now. Like,
yeah,
and the fact that like nowadays it's finally paying off, like the thing that you've I guess been like craving for, or the thing that you've always had like a love for, other people are sort of reciprocating that love for
yeah.
the first time in a while. And I can tell that like it's probably like this entire experience, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably as surreal for you as anyone probably looking on the outside
Yeah.
in.
Oh my god. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's it's so oh sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you can go on.
Okay. Sorry, I get so thinking about interrupting people. But yeah, oh my gosh, it's one of those things where it was surreal. And I remember I would even tell myself on my Tumblr like just getting a certain amount, just like I would have like mini goals for myself to be like I'm making like I'm inching people more interested in my characters. Like I remember my drawing for my characters got like 300 likes, and I was so excited. I lost my mind. I was like, oh my god, 300 likes! Oh my god, that's crazy. And it's like because I didn't want to focus, even though I really wanted and I'm just gonna be honest, like I really did want to be popular.
Right.
I didn't really want it to be the only thing I'm excited for. I always try to like praise myself for like small goals, goals, things I achieve. It's very small. Like people ask me about Vern. I'm so excited. People uh retweeted my art. I'm so excited. Someone quote retweeted, being like, "Whoa, I thought this was from a cute." I'm so excited. I was just like a cartoon. I was so excited. It's just like I really, really, really wanted people to care about my art. But even still, like my popularity, I was expecting like this might be bragging, but I was expecting like 10K because like I just was just like on Tumblr the highest I got was like 6K followers. So in my head I was just like 10K 5K is a lot, but 10K, that's like my goal. That was literally my goal. I was like, I want to hit 10K on my Twitter. And
Right.
then I thought it would never go any higher than that. I literally was just like, oh, it's probably going to stop there. And then, that Plague GS drawing blew up. And it's like, now I have like 100K. Even just like looking at my following, I check my following almost daily because I
Yeah.
literally can't believe I have 100K. I even was like telling someone, like, I'm really proud of my art, but I'm not sure if it's 100K followers worthy. Like, it's it's so intimidating. Like, just like so many people. Like, the fact that like my art is so expansive that like I'll see it on like iFunny, I'll see it in like YouTube videos, I'll see people mention my name in like YouTube comments or reference me on like Facebook. It's just like, or like people like at me and be like, oh, that makes me think of like Idolomantises. Oh, that's Idolomantises style. And I'm like, crap, I feel kind of like a celebrity here. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I really, it's like, I don't want to feel like too important. Like, that's what it is. It's just like, you, I don't want to feel like a celebrity because then it feels like I'm going to my head. But then it's like, I feel so big compared to like other people. It's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to react.
Right.
Um, like I'm totally down to like brag about like my following if people try to come after that because like I feel like even though I'm always hesitant to praise myself, I feel like I can at least appreciate the hard work I put into it and how I'm very lucky as a person. But I try not to let that brag go into like I'm more deserving than these people or these people are lesser artists than me or that kind of stuff.
Right.
If someone has like more followers than me or has like a little less followers than me, I'm not gonna be. I try not to be like a jealous person, and I'm actually not. Man, that sounds insane. Like, cause like I feel like jealousy is like an expected thing,
Right.
but I never like let that jealousy manifest into something awful. If I'm there are artists I'm like jealous of, I'll just like ask them for tips. I'll praise them. I want to be like instead of like putting that like uh jealousy and frustration like dang why can't I be that good or come on it's like oh they're catching up to me they're gonna beat me. I'll be like man you are doing so good you might even beat me you're doing amazing you deserve more
Yeah.
attention. Like it just feels good to when you get that like attention from people and that appreciation from people even if it is like very intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like what you're talking about, I guess that's kind of like more or less how the art community should be. More or less, is one of those like, there are people out there that certainly wear their following with a badge of honor more than anything else. But at the end of the day,
Yeah,
like, everyone has their own different way about doing stuff, and everyone appreciates stuff a little differently. We should be, coming together and supporting that more than anything else.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, trust me, you've established yourself. You certainly got a strong community behind you with all these different ideas and concepts that you've pushed out throughout the years. And I want to start by talking about the one that really blew up for you that you talked about, the plague doctor, lovers more or less. How did that idea come to be in the first place?
Oh man, I wish I could be like, oh, this was like a very complex thing, but it was like really simple actually. For a while actually, I wanted to make a plague doctor character,
Okay.
and this might be a little dark to say, but when the pandemic started, it kind of even made me more interested in making a plague doctor character because like it's like what a lot of people are talking about. They're comparing it to like the plagues of the past and mentioning plague doctors. I'm like, man, I want to make a plague doctor, but I was like, in my head, I was like. I don't want to like two plague doctors because I'm like that's been done before. That's pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
And then randomly while I was scrolling on Twitter, there was like a really popular post. I was like, oh my god, look at this thing called the plague nurse. And I was like, oh my god, this is an insane design. I'm in love with this plague nurse design. So, oh my, I didn't even make a joke too. Like when I made the plague GF's drawing, it still blows my mind that it got popular because I would say that's a really good example of rushing something out and just posting it because you weren't satisfied with it. Because I don't think I was posting a lot of art, or I wasn't really happy with the art I was making. So when I made the Plague Doctors, I was doing that, and I spent the whole day trying to draw them, and I was getting angry because I was just like, this should not be that hard. I'm struggling with the beaks, I'm struggling with the hands. I hate this stupid umbrella. Why did I draw an umbrella? I was just like, it was so like, it was so difficult, and I was like, oh, I hate this, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up, and then I redid the entire sketch, and I just like that's why it's very sketchy, is because I did that whole sketch, and then like I outlined it very sketchy because I was basically rushing it.
Right.
But I still wanted to like make it still look appealing.
Yeah.
So I put Plague GS because like I was just like, what do I even say here? I drew Plague Doctor Girlfriends, Plague GFs, and then I posted it, and I expected that to get like 100 likes, and then I was like, I checked my personal Twitter. I come back to my main after an hour. It already has 12,000 likes, and I was like, "What?" I literally thought like bots did something to my account because I was like, there's no way this has 12,000 likes in an hour." And I was like, I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up, and because like you know how Twitter has like glitches, so I thought it was a glitch.
Yeah.
I really thought it was like a glitch. Like I was like, there's no way. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna wake up, and then all those likes are gone. Maybe I got like 1,000 likes, and then like it's 100,000. I'm like, what? I don't even know what I did here.
I can only imagine how, like, once again going back, how surreal of an experience it was, because like you said, like it's something that you've wanted to do for a while, and like you were frustrated with it at certain points, and like once you got it out there, like of course you were satisfied with the product, but like the fact that again, like it was something that you more or less you didn't expect for it to blow up the way it did.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh.
I'm gonna partially blame the timing of it because, like you said, this is around the time that the pandemic really was
Yeah,
happening.
I was gonna say that too. I was like, this feels like perfect timing for the pan. I actually remember when I posted it on Instagram, I got like very angry comments being like, "Wow, way to go to disrespecting people who died in the not even like the pandemic, like the plagues in like the Victorian era. I was offending those people apparently. That's what they were telling me, and I was like, there's like Halloween costumes of plague doctors. You can't get mad at me for this. It was just like, what am I supposed to say here?
Yeah.
But I remembered after that, I got some people in the replies being like, "That's not a plague doctor nurse. That's not a plague doctor nurse." And I was like, "What?" And then like I looked it up because like this was the nurse I looked up was actually really difficult to research. I don't know why it was like really hard to look up, but I looked it up and it's not a nurse. It's more like a festival outfit. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like I think like almost like a Christmassy kind of outfit.
Okay.
And, it was, I don't know how to pronounce it. Czechoslovakian. I think that's what it was. Yes. And I felt really bad because I don't like making content. Like I know I was making a jokes about the plague doctors, but I don't like making content that offends or hurts people.
Right.
I know sometimes people will be like, "You should draw this because it'll spite these people," and it's like I never want to do that because I don't want to make art that makes people angry, basically. So I redesigned Lucy. I wanted to keep it more inspired, but not keep it like an exact copy of that.
Right.
Because it would, I just didn't want to disrespect another culture, which is how she got that new design.
There you go. There you go. I mean, nevertheless, like the designs as a whole that you've presented with these plague doctors and whatnot, like it's absolutely stunning more than anything else.
Thank
you.
you.
I mean, that's just more or less a reflection of your art as a whole. Like just every single character that you push out there, like goodness, like I can only imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into getting that design just right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like super anal about this stuff. Like even though like these designs usually take me like maybe even like at least like a few hours, like I'm really like serious about like having a design figured out because like I want to make characters that like you really think about. I really want to make characters that like I really feel identifiable by their design. And in some ways that's kind of like hurt me because my plague doctor girls have been, and Samson, the big brother, they've been passed around online like so much to a point where like a couple times I will post the characters. I'll post like fan art of those, not fan art, like Animal Crossing costumes of those characters, And people will be in my replies like, "Hey, why don't you credit the artist?" And it's like, I'm the artist. Are my characters more popular than me? Uh,
Wow.
um, yeah, I've had like people like, message me about the characters and like ask me stuff which is cute, but sometimes they get like a little creepy about it. Like they might ask like sometimes sexual stuff with my characters. I was like, whoa, please, hey, relax, okay? Like my mom follows this account. Please don't write this stuff, okay? I can't answer this. Um, uh, so it gets intimidating, but I at the same time it's like I do still feel that pride. Like, dang, I designed that, and people are obsessed with it. Like, dang, that must say something about me.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to talk about obsession? Let's talk about the one that everyone's been going absolutely crazy for these past few months or whatnot, and that's basically the collection of bugs that you've basically presented in one
Oh
manner or
yeah,
another.
yeah,
Like the spider moms more than anything else. Like again,
yeah.
how did those concepts come to be?
That one is also pretty simple for, well, yeah, maybe a little more complex, but pretty simple for the story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was trying to think of something new when I was trying to working on comics because I was like, I'm making a lot of couples, like lots of couples, and everyone likes, not everyone, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people like my
There's a
couple
good
stuff.
audience for couples.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what people like attracted to. But I was just like, why even want to do couples? I don't want to do couples anymore. I don't want to do like leaf bug and mosquito or this and this because I was like, this is almost feeling samey. And I know these couples are very different, and I try to make them very different, but like the dynamic was the same. It's like they're dating and they love each other.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted something different, and so I was like, when I was making the idea, I was like, months ago, I think even last year, I wanted to make something like a ladybug and a spider couple. Like there were two girls and they were married. But then I was like, God, I don't want to make this. So I was literally just like, I don't want to make this. But I really like the ladybug and the spider idea. And so I was like, what if that ladybug is a baby boy? I don't draw a lot of boys, a little boy, and he has a spider mom, a very creepy looking. Well, I thought she was creepy, but like the replies are telling me otherwise. But I was like, I was like this creepy spider mom, like I thought like I was like that'd be kind of cute because like I don't remember if I was doing a lot. I was doing like a decent amount of comics, but I don't think I was doing like very story driven comics. So I thought it would be kind of cute to do something a little different, like a mom and a son, and the more like story driven comic. Like this kid's drawing a picture, he's really proud of it, but you can see Bugs in the back like are really freaked out. Like what the heck is he drawing? He
Yeah.
goes home, he talks to his mom, he's like really excited to her. You don't see the mom, but she seems pretty nice. And then you see her hand, and then you see the next page, and it's like she's massive.
Yeah.
And uh, that one, I actually did plan to do more stuff with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I was actually surprised by like the amount of attention they got. I was like, these are probably not going to be that interesting to people. And then like, of course, like literally every time I'm like, this is not going to be interesting for people, it explodes. So people got really interested in that stuff. I was like, dang, that's awesome. In fact, originally I was gonna make the Spider-Man more like kooky, zany, but I thought like it would be better or more interesting if you had contrasted this like cute, sweet little boy with this very tall, very scary looking woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the next comic was just like them hanging out. But then I was like, man, I don't have any ideas, but I really like these characters. What can I do with them? And I was like, 'cause I think it was like them hanging out, and then the one with the bully. But I was like, I don't really want to do stuff with him at school. Or originally, I actually was like, I'm not gonna do with anything with Dot or kids, just like him with his mom or
Right.
other adults. No kids stuff. Which that didn't go that long. But later on, I was like, I could give a Spider Mom like a partner.
Yeah.
Because that could be interesting. So that's when I introduced uh, Ladybird or Scarlet. I should also say Spider Mom's name is Arachne,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ladybug's name is Dot. But I'm just gonna say Spider Mom, Ladybird, because that's how people usually remember them as.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I kept calling them that because I literally did not have a name for them. Um, so I was just like, then that's just how it just kind of like story days just kept coming, and then I thought, I could do something kind of different with Dot. Why don't I just have him interact with one of the bullies? Originally, I wasn't even gonna do anything with the bullies. I just was like, mean kids bullying Dot. and then they get messed with, and then they don't mess with him again.
Yeah.
But I thought about having one of the bullies be basically forced to apologize to Dot. But then you find out like this bully has a lot of really like repressed issues, and she took it out on Dot when she shouldn't have. I was gonna have her cricket friend, who's actually her stepbrother. I don't know if I mentioned it, but like that's her stepbrother. They're basically siblings.
Okay.
He was gonna join her, but when I wrote that one, I actually was like, I think that was like the first time I've actually felt scared posting something, because like usually my comics are very easy. They're really digestible and safe and stuff like that. Like, girls hanging out, stuff like that. Mom stops bullies. But I thought this one I actually asked some other transgender people more, like specifically trans women, because I didn't want to make Tulip feel like a caricature.
Right.
I was like, I know there's like stereotypes like, oh, the transgender woman who's aggressive and angry, and I don't want that. I wanted it just to be like a very angry kid, but a lot of the anger just comes from trauma, just like from being bullied very severely herself. I know I told people that like I put those comics on. Some people think I'm done with those characters. I'm not. But one of the comics I thought about doing was something like how like Tulip and her brother Fern, or they all only had each other basically, because Tulip was bullied for being trans, and Fern was bullied for being gay. And then like they moved into a newer community where all my other bug characters are, where they're more accepting, and so it was very difficult for them to adapt, basically. And then you have this little boy, Dot, who's just like, oh, I'm cool with my friend being trans. I have two moms. It's just like, he's just like this little accepting little kid. And I always wanted to make sure that like, even like my nicest characters, I always wanted to make them interesting. I really wanted them to be people you could not only care about, but maybe even identify with.
Yeah.
So I made Dot just like, he's very cheery and peppy, but like there's really excitable energy to him. Like, he really wants to support people and help them in any way they could, but he gets anxious pretty easily. He's very scared of conflict. Like he's a lover, not a fighter, basically. Yeah. And then very late, I introduced the crab mom and her blind daughter, Chestnut. Originally, they were going to be sisters or even a couple, but I was like, what if she has a daughter too? And that was another example of like I could have explored. I wanted to explore more with them, but I was like, I've been drawing these characters for almost 2 months, so I was just like, I want to just put it to rest, because that's kind of my thing, is that I don't like drawing stuff for too long, even if it's popular. I'm just like in my head, I'm like, if I'm getting bored, not bored, but if I'm getting kind of tired of this, and if I'm not thinking of anything good, I don't want to force an idea so I can get a bunch of clout and attention. So I just was just like, it's done, it's over, that's it.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
I just want to say with all the stuff that you kind of put into this like most recent run, more than anything else, with these bug people, I just have to ask more than anything else, who hurt you? Because my God, some of the stories that you're telling with these characters, especially like Spider Mom and all stuff like that, they're some of the most like gut wrenching storytelling I have ever heard. I'm pretty sure I've replied to you several times, like to the comments, like, why must you like make me cry?
There's so many. I probably missed it because I was getting someone like, why did you make me cry? That oh my God, that comic got like 1,000 replies. I had to mute that comic because so many people were replying. That was something I was like, I was writing in my personal Twitter. I was like, I guess people are gonna find out the point, like the kind of writer I actually am. Mm-hmm. Like, I really like stories about love and care, but I also really like putting darker elements in that story, but specifically because I like it when it's like when a character's in suffering or hurt, that there is some way for them to be happy. There's some way for like to find love, to find joy. I remember like my character Vern has like probably the saddest backstory out of all my characters, and his whole arc is just like trusting people again, because I just think that like I never like misery porn. Basically, I like showing like the messed up part, the sad part, but like, showing that happy part, showing people getting better, being happy, finding
Right.
relationships. The one with her mom, that one I was nervous about, because not scared like Tulip, but I was nervous because I was like, this is like the first time I'm actually posting something like genuinely upsetting to people, because they're used to like the safe stuff, the really comforting stuff. And then like having a comic end with, oh, my mom's dead, might be a little traumatizing to people. Um, like I was even getting DMs like, how could you, how dare you, um, do this? And I was just like, I'm a little kooky, I'm a little crazy like that. And then that's when I introduced her dad.
Right.
Um, her and her dad could honestly, I was like thinking to myself, like, man, I could make a whole comic about her and her dad, because like there was like a lot of ideas I really wanted to explore.
Yeah.
Like her dad, um be the part of the reason why he doesn't like help people is because like his whole family was very bad. Specifically, like his father was very bad. His father, he was like, oh yeah, my father ate all my siblings and tried to eat me, but I survived. And he treats it like, oh, I'm so tough, but it's like that's a very traumatic childhood to have.
Yeah.
um
Just a little.
yeah. And yeah, and so like, um and then there's Arachne. It's like and I don't want to say this and put this in the comic because like it's very sweet, but like he and his daughter, like they kill other bugs, like they do actually kill bugs and eat bugs and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's
um
survival out there.
yeah, and I I don't know if I can say this, because if people hearing this who like this might feel betrayed, but in the comic where Arachne meets Dot, in the original idea was actually going to be that she was going to try to eat him. Um, and then like she sees him sad and she's like, oh, I'm going to adopt him. And I was like, I don't know if I want that. How about just introduce her in sort of like kind of a creepy way, but in a way that she cares.
Right.
I remember also again I remember people getting mad because like she had a big chest, and it was like I had, even when I was drawing I was like, I don't know, I kind of want to censor this, but like I don't want to make chest feel like you have to censor it. But like uh that part, um sorry, so like I'm trying to think how to word this because it's like it's a little upsetting, but like I sometimes you might notice this, I'll add sketches at the end of the comic sometimes, like under the tweet, because it's just like I'll be like, I have a bonus idea, but I want to make it to a comic. I'll just add some sketches.
Right.
One of the sketches was going to be like Arachne putting Dot to sleep, and Dot asking, "Have you eaten bugs before?" And she said, "All the time, but I would never eat you." And he says, "Have you eaten a ladybug before?" And she says, she pauses, and then she's like, "I've only eaten one, but it didn't taste very good." To like allude to the fact that she might have actually eaten his mom, and that's why he's motherless, basically. Yeah. But I was like, I was like, this might be so dark, but I don't want to tease that because I don't want to like sour that like kind of like love from them. So I was like, I'll just keep that up. But that was just kind of my thing, is just like I want to I don't want to like make things too dark. But I like putting, very sad, very, because I mean, I don't want to get to myself, but like I've been hurt before. A lot of people have been
Right.
hurt before. And it feels nice when someone suffers and then something nice happens to them after that. So I thought shaking it up with something like that would have been nice too. And in fact, um, before these comics, when I wanted to do something with Samson, the big brother, and the his son Ren, it was actually, and I'm still thinking about it, but I don't think I can because Twitter might uh, suspend my account, because the original story was like way gory, but like it was, yeah, it was like him saving his son, implied to be like they were doing experiments on him. That's why he has those weird bird feet. Um, but I was just like, people won't like that, and so I just like scrapped it to the side. And then like months later, I do the spider stuff. People really like that, and so I've been thinking about it. But like in my head, I'm like, I don't think I don't even think I can do that, because nobody came here to see a lot of blood and gore. But I still want to like tease like, or put like implications, like there's like a lot of stuff that Samson has done for his son. Like that's the reason why Samson is silent, because he got injured protecting his son. But yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, you can always make it a Patreon exclusive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, but I mean, like, nevertheless, like, I'm being genuine when I say this. Some of the storytelling that you've had with all these comics you presented so far, it's some of the most engaging stuff out there with all these different characters and
Thanks.
such. Like, I don't think that there are like certain TV shows out there that are not as engaging as what you're presenting in your webcomic. I am being dead serious with that one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Like,
Gosh.
I can only imagine like how rough the writing process must be for you at times to make sure that you have like a good story at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, I was like saying to myself, I was like, God, I wish. I was like, and sometimes when I'm on Twitter, I'm like, oh, I wish this was Tumblr because Tumblr is like you could have like 10 photos at once, and then you could add more. And I was like, man, there's so many stories. I want it to be longer. Like, oh, there was that comic, the comic of Fern. I was getting like legit like pretty sad with it because there was so much story. I write scripts before I make the comic. There was a lot of stuff in Fern's story to like expand it more. But when I started drawing it, I was like, this script is only 2 pages, but I'm only down two like 3 sentences, and it's already the full page. So there's no way I can like fit everything I wrote into that whole thing.
Right.
So when people are like I remember I was like, people were telling me like, oh, your writing's getting better and stuff like that. I was like, man, that means a lot because like I always have to constrict myself when I write. I always have to squeeze things down.
Right.
And like I'll have to remove things. It's just like all this kind of stuff because it's so difficult for that format. That's also why like people are like, you should put that on webtoons. And personally, I'm just like, I don't want to really put this on webtoons because these are very short. And I know there's webtoons that are like 1 page long, but I was just like, I don't really think I want them on a webtoons format. I kind of prefer it where it's like you click per page. But yeah, it's fun to write. I mean, that's why it's like my webcomic that I've been writing about. That webcomic has like 400 pages now. I've been writing it since I was like 17 and still like reworking it. That's part of why I kind of paused on it because it's like I really want to make this a good story because I'm such a perfectionist and I want to make people feel interested in these characters. I really want to make characters that like I don't want relatable characters. I want identifiable characters. I want characters that make you go, "Wow, this could be a real person,"
Yeah.
or "Wow, I could relate to their struggles." And these short comics, I think it's kind of a miracle that I was lucky enough to like succeed in conveying that in my stuff.
No, I mean absolutely, and like especially with like you said before, like the years of experience, like just doing this kind of stuff, as well as like the recent run that has been like garnering you a lot of attention. Like I can imagine how the experience of all of that is kind of leading into this baby that you said you've been working on for a year, which is your webcomic, Creature of Grey.
Yes.
How did this comic and how these characters like? How did I sound like a broken record? But what was the inspiration behind them? How did they come to be?
Creature of Grey?
Yeah.
Oh man. I will say you're only wrong about one thing. It wasn't like a year. It was actually like 6 years, I think. It's been like something I've been developing, restarting all this stuff. It's been like
I was saying the recent string of stories that you've had for the past year.
Yes, okay.
I imagine that on top of the years of experience you've had, like just doing this stuff in general, has led to this thing that you've been working for years on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Creature of Grey is probably I would say that's the most like dynamic of my stories because that's a story that's really evolved like crazy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it started like I said, it started off with Vern. And it was a character I drew for personal reasons, like just like on my sketchbook, but I never like did much with him on Disney Create until people asked about him. Because in my sketchbook, it was more like a metaphor for like how I was feeling versus like what he was. So people asked about him, and originally I actually wanted him to be like a villain, like evil. Okay. I made him like in the original art comic. I wish the only sad thing about Disney Create being down is he can't pull the old art back, but he was like very ugly. And I still kind of consider it was pretty ugly. But the old art was like very menacing. Like I really wanted him to look evil. Yeah. But then I was just like, I felt like that one Twitter post that's like, oh, my little meow meow, my poor little meow meow. Because I was just like, man, he looks kind of pathetic. And I was like, very pathetic. I was just like, man, why does he look like this? Why is he in the dark? Like I was literally just thinking to myself, like, why did I put him in the dark? Why is he alone? why is he wearing this big cape? Like he like had all this power and then lost it. Like, where is this coming from? And I remember like the original story was going to be like he met a really nice family, some really convoluted thing happens, and then like they all die, and he feels ashamed, so he moves into a cave, and then later on, someone takes him out of that cave, and he like lives in like modern day because he's supposed to be like hundreds of years old, and like he's hanging out with all these people, but like I was just kind of like, in my head, I was like, I don't know if I like this because I don't really like stories about modern day. I guess I like fantasy and sci-fi.
Fair enough.
Then later on, there's this. I read this. I almost said webcomic. This comic called Amulet that I was like, I'm still obsessed with it. I think its last book is coming out next year.
Okay.
And I was like so in love with this book because it was really beautiful. It was very weird. It was like these animal robot alien people. I remember saying like Vern was very heavily inspired. I told you he's inspired by this one character, but the character I saw the character after I conceived Vern. But his personality was very inspired because like I liked this character named Trellis because he was very I don't want to say scary. No, but he did have like a very scary aura to him because like the first thing he does with the main character is basically like threaten her. And I was just like, but then like as the series goes on, it's like you feel kind of bad for him. Like his brother basically like beats him up because like he hesitated because like it was like he wants to defeat his father, all this stuff, and then, so I made that with Vern. So I was like, man, I want to put that character into my character, but I don't make it like exact. And I was also inspired by Piccolo when I was evolving Vern's character because I was like, I loved Piccolo. Not loved, I still do. I think Piccolo is like one of my favorite characters like ever. And I was like, I really like this like very angry and intense, menacing aura, but like he cares deeply about Gohan and about his well-being. So I put that into Vern. I didn't really have a lot of other characters developed. Like originally, like the people that he knew that died end up becoming, not originally, but like later on in the story, they become the main characters. But originally, they were going to be dead. But then I'm trying to think. So when Amulet came out, I was really obsessed with that kind of setting, the like sort of like fantasy setting. So my story was like, it was gonna be like when I tried my story again. This is when I was just I was like I had no plan, and I'm 15 years old in high school. I don't know how to write. I try to do like a backstory for Vern, but like it was gonna be like the start of his backstory. It was really a stupid idea. It was like gonna be like his childhood all the way to adulthood, and then the actual story started there. And I know some stories do that, but like my story was like this was gonna be like several books of like just like Vern's backstory, and I was like, this is stupid. And again, it's like every time I look at my old stuff, I'm just like, this is stupid. Why did I do that? So I wanted to Vern had a house, but I was like, I don't want Vern to talk to himself. So I gave Vern one of the characters. I'll say Uni. He knows Uni. It was like short for unique, but she's also a unicorn. Her dead parent, I say father, but he's non-binary. Those two were gonna be like a duo together, and like Vern was like serious, but Virus was more playful, so they could contrast each other. But then again, after that, I was like, I don't really like this story. I don't like where I'm going with this, so I started over. So then Creature Grey became just like a very long and very like basically slow process of me like figuring out what I want with the story, and it still is a process of figuring out like where I want the story to go. And like I mean, my own friends have made jokes like this story might never come out because I'm always starting over, because I'm always restarting, because I'm always delaying it. I told people it was going to come out in like 2016, and then it never happened. So when people ask me when's it coming out, I'm just like, don't hold me to it because I don't even know myself. But so like, let me try to remember. Oh yeah, so when I was developing the story, I was like, what? Virus has a wife, but she died. So why does he like this wife? Because it's like you want to give a character a reason why they care about someone who passed away.
Right.
But the more I wrote about her, the more I was like, I kind of like his wife, like a little too much. Like I really want her to be dead, So then that happened. I revived her basically. Like she was alive too now, and so it was
Necromancy.
gonna be Vern. Yeah, it was gonna be Vern, Cerise, the wife, and Virus. Um, and they were like all friends. But then like again, as the story developed, I was like, oh, this is kind of like they're basically kind of like a third wheel now. Even though like the whole like two people are a couple and one friend is like that's been done in a story before. But I was just like, I don't really like Vern as a third wheel
Mm-hmm.
because like I was just kind of concerned about like would people find that interesting if like the main character did not have a love interest, and also because personally I was just like I really wanted Vern to explore a new relationship because originally in the old his old backstory was that he had a very abusive girlfriend.
Okay.
But then like I was like, what do I want to do now with that? And it would have been fine if he didn't have a partner. Like that would have been fine. That wouldn't have made him less interesting. It was just like to me, I was like, I really think you could do more with him developing a new relationship. So then I made Indigo, who was gonna be a side character. He was actually like the animal version of a racist, but like I was like, actually, I'm gonna make him not racist. He's gonna be
Yeah.
very woke now and a cool guy, and he's going to be friends with Cerise. Virus is gonna hate him. Vern is gonna feel conflicted about him, and so that was just like these four characters, and I wanted like different like uh, relationships with them because I feel like when you write a character, you always want to make sure the relationships with people are very different. Which like it should feel like writing 101. Like obviously, it would feel different, but sometimes when you're a writer, you just want to make characters seem funny or seem friendly,
Right.
so you kind of treat them as like the exact same person, especially if they're like in a friend group. And I think it's just more interesting. It's like if a character like when Indigo's with Vern, he's a lot more playful and flirty because he likes it. But when he's with Cerise, he's very relaxed and he's very more comfortable with showing like more negative emotions. When he's with Virus, he's almost like a troll. He's like messing with him, and I wanted that for all of my characters. Um, and so yeah, so as the story kept developing, it was just like I really was just trying to figure out. I really wanted it to get its own identity because like even in the original not original, like semi original. When I was 15 years old, I was like, this is too derivative of Amulet. So I really wanted to focus on like not just the characters now. I wanted to focus on the world building because I love writing characters, but I was like neglecting the world building. So that's been what I've been very focused on is just like sort of expanding that world and sort of like blending it in. Like I had this idea of like uh I was laughing because I saw a Tumblr post and I was like, oh god dang it, Tumblr stole my idea. Where it was like all these animal characters they age differently. Like Vern is 200, Indigo is like 170, I think. I kind of changed it.
Mm.
Indigo, not Indigo. Virus is like 3,000. Cerise is like she keeps her age a secret. But they have this thing called Age of the Beast, which is like ape people, like monkey people, ape monkey people that went extinct uh for reasons that are like in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But they use them because they live they live till they're 100, so they compare their ages. So I was like, there could have been a joke like a character like mentally who works at a bar, he mentally has to make sure someone is of age because like a character who's the same species as Vern could be 20 years old, but that's just a 5-year old.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure like, oh, I don't want to give something to a minor. So I really like those little like intricacies like that, or like their religion, their folklore, their games, their language. Like I really wanted to make this world feel as alive and as diverse and as like identifiable as the characters themselves. Like I wanted to make the world also feel like a character.
Right, right. I mean, trust me, like with all the stuff that you've said and what little is out there, trust me, I was trying to do as much research as I can on Creatures of Grey and whatnot. Like I can tell that there's a lot that is going
Yeah.
into this story.
Yeah.
But I can tell that, I mean, you said yourself, you've been working on this for what, 6, 7 years at this point. Like this is
Yeah.
something that you dedicate yourself to trying to get. 1 second, what was it? Words are wonderful.
Yeah.
No, it's something that you've like dedicated a lot of time and effort to, and something that you want to see like come to fruition. Because I mean, you said yourself you're a perfectionist. As well as like you want this to be as perfect of a story as you've like maybe not originally envisioned, but like something that you would like to go back to time and time again, just to enjoy and like like be invested in this like you would any other show out there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, trust me. Again, from what I could tell already, from what is out there, like this is something else. Like
Yeah.
it is.
You think so?
You know what? I'm going to give the the postmodern art podcast guarantee that this is something else. That has never been
Yeah.
given out before because I literally just made it right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I even made a joke. Like, I was like, this is gonna be breaking the boundaries of webtoons because my main character is a bald, ugly 40-year-old man with severe depression, and it's like compared to like your beautiful girls and your beautiful young yaoi dudes. It's like you had this like completely mess of a character, and I'm
Right.
like, even I was like, even my mom was like, she's like, you want to make this character, you want to make sure these characters are like relatable because people can like, might like to relate to those kind of characters. And I was like, yeah, because like, you want to be that beautiful girl with the hot guy, you want to be that hot guy with another hot guy, but it's like, I kind of like characters that are like, not perfect,
Yeah.
not and I was like this book is actually like nothing like my usual stuff because like a lot of my stuff is like I like drawing curvy girls, I like drawing girls with big boobs, I really like drawing buff guys, I like drawing this stuff, but it's like my one of my male characters is fat, my other male character is like even though he's pretty buff he's pretty curvy as well because he's like an ant and ants have like those curves.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why I did that gesture, you can't see me but I'm like doing that hourglass gesture.
Yeah. No, I get
um
that.
I have like this non-binary unicorn who's like very grumpy and very mean. Well, I won't say very mean, but like he has like a sass to him. And then I have like this horse who's the only girl in the group who's like she has no tits, and she doesn't really have like any like curves. And I like that with her because I wanted her to be more like the horses in this world were like very masculine. So I was just like I like that she was also masculine, but like it was never something she was like ashamed of. Like she loved showing off her muscles. It was like she was very proud of being like a horse that was also powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it's like I don't want to word it like, oh, when I mention these like webtoon stuff, I want to make it seem like I'm looking down on these authors who are writing this kind of stuff. Because
Right.
even though it's like not for me, it's like they know what they're doing. They're making an audience. And even if I don't even like them, it's like, oh, who am I to say? They got a successful webcomic. I don't. I just like, observing stuff. I like comparing my own stuff. Um, and I hope that if that comic comes out, I don't want to say if because that's not good. I want to say when that comic comes out, that people, I don't even want it to be popular. I just want people to enjoy it. I want people to like it.
And more than anything else, like especially with the kind of characters that you're presenting, you want people to like relate to it more than they would like some of the characters that some of the other comics that you're talking about more than anything else because these are like unique circumstances. Yet, yes,
Yeah,
but these are some of probably the most grounded characters that you could probably find out there.
yeah, I really wanted. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you know what this is, but there's like this whole thing called kinning, which is like people who like really identify with a character. And I was like, I want Vern to be like that kin that people fight over, or people make call out posts like, "Wow, you're standing Vern when he did blah 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 this and this." Like, "Wow, you're standing Beerus when he called Vern an idiot," or like just like. I even make jokes like I want fandom discourse because
There you
I
go.
sometimes I'm like you morally gray, not morally gray, but like characters that are more complex tend to get the most discourse because, people can't seem to have very black and white perspectives on characters. And I
Right.
know with webcomics, especially, creators tend to create characters that are very, that's the relatable part. It's characters you don't want to disagree with. It's characters like they're very nice, but that's it. And if they do something bad, the story doesn't call the character out on it because they're
Yeah.
basically, in some ways, they're kind of like a fantasy for that character, either as a love interest or for themselves. And with my story, I don't want that. I don't want my characters to be like they can just say whatever and get away with it. Like Vern, he does some stuff. Part of it is just like because of trauma and a lot of other things, but I don't want to make it be like, oh, well, Vern's depressed, so it's fine that he did this. And it's like, no, I don't want that. I want it to be interesting. I want people to think about it. I want people to talk about it. Like his love interest Indigo, I love like I'm not actually a big fan of like assholes with a heart of gold because
Right.
I feel like a lot of times in stories they really like to give that asshole a sad backstory, and then they act like that's totally fine now. Like nobody can call them out anymore because like, oh, when I was a child, I watched my father die, and it's like, I don't care. Like you can't just be an asshole to people because you saw your father. Like that's not my problem, you know. Like that character's father could have died too, but they don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And so with Indigo, like especially, like I wanted him to be like the love interest that gets called out. You know, not like handheld. He's not like um, treated like he's too stupid for his own good, or like his backstory's so sad, so this and this. Because I don't like sad backstories when they don't like enhance the characters. I don't like it when it's like, here's a sad backstory, feel sorry for them. I feel like it's really interesting when a character has a sad backstory and there's like a response to it. Actually, I wouldn't say Indigo because maybe Indigo. I actually think I said like maybe Indigo because like Indigo does say some very out of pocket things, but he has a very like I care kind of aura. Like he asshole with a part of gold. Like he doesn't mean to be an asshole on purpose, unless it's with Virus just to mess with him. But like he tries to be. Doesn't I want to say tries to be a good person. I would say he tries to make people happy,
Right.
especially with Vern, because Vern is very closed off. But Indigo, for reasons that Vern doesn't know, that like he can understand people who are in fact hurting and he wants to help them. You know, he's still gonna make a mistake. I say Vern would probably be my most divisive because like Vern is very, even though he's the main character, Vern kind of does some, I don't want to say like the worst thing ever or whatever, but like he has this whole thing where like he kind of stagnates and he's kind of rude. There's like points where like he'll just say like something incredibly rude to someone without warning. He just kind of has problems. And I know that might even piss people off because nobody likes a character who's mean to the nice one because it's like that audience bias. Like you never have that character that you want people to like to be mean to the one that people really do like because then it turns into like a whole mess.
Right.
And with Vern, it was like I wanted him to sort of like do stuff but not apologize for it because like in his head he prefers to push people away except for this one person in his life because like the whole catalyst is that he's waiting for someone to show up for him. And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah. And then like there's Cerise, who I think might be the most well liked because, and in fact, I actually think people might see her as boring because she starts off very friendly and very nice. Like she's always supportive with Vern. She's very happy around Vern. She's happy around anyone. She's best friends with Indigo. She makes her partner happy, but like Cerise is just like. Cerise has a lot of stuff going on underneath too, but those flaws, it's like she's basically trained herself not to put it up on center because like the last thing she wants is for people to stress out about her when other people are suffering basically. Because like this whole story is having like in a big war basically, like this massive war that's going on the outside. And I wrote that like I wanted to split up my story in parts, and part one was going to be in this town, and it was going to be like a little while in that town to a point where you'd feel really cozy and safe in this town, but then like they'd hint that like there's that big war going on, and at some point that war could come to this town that hasn't like seen a lot of like outsiders in like centuries basically. And then there's Virus, which I don't want to say too much. I just think he's funny because I say he's like my most relatable character. Maybe I'll say a little bit, but like because he's very. I mean, I try not to be mean to people, but I have a very bad habit of just saying something very rude and not meaning to. It's just like it's basically condescending. Like my sister say, like I have a very condescending tone, and it's like I swear to God, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to sound condescending. My voice is just automatically on asshole mode. I don't know why. It's like I'm just always a jerk, and I don't mean to be. But Virus is very like, he really loves like. This kind of has that goofy Pluto thing where it's like there's animals, but then there's like animals which are just like regular normal animals, and he has like this pet dragon that he babies to death, even though she spits acid and she breaks into people's houses and like attacks people. But he loves her to death. He treats her like his own daughter.
Right.
And Cerise is like Cerise sees herself as very plain because she's just a horse, and her partner's a unicorn. But her unicorn partner is just like, he's just like, this is like, my wife is a goddess. Like, this is the most amazing woman in the world. Like, I love her so much. And then like with most everyone else, like Vern and Indigo, he's just like, he has an attitude. He's very rude. He's very snippy. Um, he's very entrenched in his own culture, is the whole unicorn culture. But at the same time, it's like he also worships the founder of the town for like other reasons. And again, it's like I never want to go too into it. I just want to explain some of these characters because I usually don't on my. I know you said you did some research, so
Yeah.
you've probably seen me like post stuff and stuff like that. But I don't really do a lot of in-depth stuff with them because sometimes I'm worried about me changing things, and I don't think I want to change anything with the characters, but like maybe like I'll tweak something in their backstory or tweak something in like their history, and I don't want people to like go back to like these old posts from like 2018 and be like, well, what the heck was that? Or like, when is this scene gonna happen? You said this scene was gonna happen. I was like, I don't know. I was kind of lying sometimes. Maybe it was never gonna happen.
I was gonna say, like, at the end of the day, like, this is your creation, this is your child. You can do what you want with it because
Yeah.
it's up to you at the end of the day. Like, if nothing else, like, especially when you have time to resonate on certain ideas and sort of debate on how certain things go about their way. Nothing else, like, ideas change to where they'll probably make more sense at the end of the day instead of trying to rush something out there that's like $1 billion project and people are gonna end up hating it one way or another. Star Wars. Sorry,
Yeah.
back off right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
Yeah.
but like, nevertheless, like, like just that little description of the characters alone, like, I know, there's a lot of love that's in these characters. There's a lot of love that's going into the story, a lot of effort and dedication that's going to this stuff, and I'm gonna be excited whenever I see it in, I don't know, 2050 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, gosh, I swear to God, I'll be on my deathbed and I'll be like, it's coming out next week, I swear.
It's coming out next.
just, what was that Shrek meme was coming out? And just I die.
No, then he like that. He like, we thought he died for a second. There is another.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
But like, nevertheless, like, my point still stands. Like, it's incredible to see kind of the years of effort that's just gone into something that is as simply, what some people will look at as just merely a webcomic. I want to know, like, in all the years that you've been doing this, what would you say is, like, as an artist, like, the best example of how you've grown as an artist? Like, what would you say, or at least like what you're most proudest of that you've developed this over the years?
Man. I get that question all the time. Even like when I was like 10 years old. Like
Really?
it'd be like, this is art. Yeah, like, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like, oh, geez, this question. But it's just like it's one of those questions where like I've never answered it because I don't even know fully. Or like
Okay.
at least I didn't. But I think the art that really, really makes me proud is still the Plague GF's drawing.
Okay.
It's not like my most dynamic or most like there's no story, there's no like comic, there's no anything, but like it was just like it was something I drew with a lot of emotion behind it. And even it was something I was getting frustrated with and something that was like it was like a lot of emotion going on. Um, but I still finished it and then I posted it and it did so well. And it wasn't just like the popularity, it was like the comments, it was just like realizing that like I do have talent. And like I mean I always thought it was like I don't I draw for fun, but I also draw because I think I have enough talent where I think it's worth showing other people. But I always felt frustrated because and even there was points where I doubted myself because I was just like, is my art that good? Do people care about my characters? And it was even back then, it was such a silly thing to think about because getting people to care about your original characters can be very hard to do. Like, unless you have like very generic, like a slime girl or like bird girl, but with big boobs. And I'm not saying that like as like to demean artists who do stuff like that, but it's just like it can be very easy. And even like my art, like I'm drawing a girl with curves and boobs, but like like bug stuff, like very weird stuff. Like plague doctors were so weird, but
Yeah.
I never drew them because in my head I was just like, you don't see a lot of Plague Doctor characters, you don't see a lot of Plague Doctor art. No one's gonna want to see this. Uh, but at least I think I had 7K when I posted that drawing. Like at least my 7K followers, they'll see this, and I'm happy about that. But when it boosted that, it was just like it was empowering. Basically, it made me feel so happy just to see like people liked this stuff, that people liked my art, and I felt so proud of what I made. And I guess the comic I felt like the second most proud of was even as much as that one was the Bug Love comic, the comic about Arachne and her dad,
Right.
because I was not very comfortable with writing really personal, not personal like for me, but like very soft stories. Because when I want to write something that's a little more angsty but still heartwarming, I get nervous
Right.
because like I feel like you kind of have to put a little bit of yourself into these stories, which is why I typically avoid them for cutesy stuff. But with the Arachne and her dad, like it was sort of like confronting that one part of myself that I always just like I didn't want to confront, and it was just like confronting like love, basically confronting like wanting to open myself up and finding that new love, new family, that new stuff, and the fact that people were so moved and so happy, and they were just like they went crazy about it. It was just like I was just happy because I was just like I did something I've been like scared to do since like I don't know, I was like 14, 15, like just
Yeah.
something I've been terrified to do, and people really love that. So yeah, the play TFs and the bug love drawing, like those are drawings that I think I'm very, very proud of,
Yeah.
because of like all, what it means to me.
I mean, if nothing else, like you were saying, like especially with the plague doctors, like you said, there was a lot of emotion behind that. With the Spider Mom and her dad, like there was a lot of emotion and personal stuff with it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for you, I can imagine how elating it was that you put all this emotion into it, and like your emotion was rewarded not just with the thousands of likes I may have gotten, but the fact that there was a wealth of different supportive people that related to that
Yeah,
in one aspect or another.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. Um, Even like when I wrote that stuff in my head, I was like, when I post this, everyone's gonna be like, "This is corny. This is so lame." I was like, "Oh, I was literally like preparing. I was like, they're gonna say this is lame. They're gonna say this is corny." So it's like I don't know why I always tell myself this stuff. It's like I could have like a million followers, and in my head, I'm like, if I post anything like slightly sad or slightly angsty, like I know people are gonna turn on me or like get mad. Like I was convinced like people would straight up turn on me because like I was just like I thought I was like betraying that image of like because like even like now sometimes like people still kind of think I'm like this ooh woo cutesy softy artist kind of person basically because of the content I make, and
Mm-hmm.
I always get scared of that stuff because like I don't want to I don't want really people to treat my art as a reflection of who I am basically. I wanted to treat it as really like what I'm passionate about, what I'm working hard on, and show it to people. So when I show like the little personal stuff, I thought like, oh, I'm ruining that image. I'm telling people, oh, this artist isn't always happy. Oh, this artist isn't always making happy stuff. Um, and it was so silly, but it's I'm just happy that like the responses have been so kind. And even if they didn't like it, I mean, I would still be happy with the kind of content I was making.
Well, there you go. There you go. Um, we've been talking a lot about the stuff that you've made throughout the years and stuff, but I know you're not planning on really slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah.
So let's go a little bit to more or less the dream scenario. Let's say I am big shot Mr. Moneybags. I have access to anyone and everyone out there when it comes to art, and I have more money than it should be even possible to have. If given the opportunity, come to me like Quill. Look, the art that you make absolutely stunning. We can't get enough of it. We want to make the Dream Quill project. So, if given the opportunity with access to anyone and everyone and anything, what would be the Dream Quill project?
I really want to make a cartoon. Like that's been
Ooh.
something I've been wanting to make since I was like 11.
Okay.
I even made like I even had like concept art for it. And if I wanted to make a cartoon, I feel like the studio I would have in mind is either Flying Bark, because they have some incredible animations. Like their animation is like insanely good. Like I don't know if you've seen shows like Rise of the TMNT or
Oh
Monkey
yeah,
Kid or yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, say no more.
yeah, yeah. That studio is crazy.
Yeah.
Let me think. Maybe Titmouse.
Yeah.
Um, there's another studio I'm trying to think of. That's what's it called? Studio Mur. I think the one that did with like Legend of Korra and
Okay.
Voltron.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking. Aren't they
Yeah.
aren't they technically the people now that are behind like the Avatar studios that Nickelodeon is having or whatnot? Or
I don't know actually. I might have to look into that, but I don't know. I don't know if they actually teamed
but
up and made or like remade or yeah.
but nevertheless, like studios like those, like working on like a dream cartoon that you've probably
Yeah.
had in mind.
Yeah, and if I could make the cartoon, I would not want it to be Creature of Grey, because Creature of Grey is a cartoon that would flop because it's very weird, it's very different, and I don't think people would want to watch it, even though people love like all kinds of stuff. But
Depends
also
on how
just
you market
personally,
it.
yeah, yeah, sure. But also just personally, I'm like, I don't really think this is something really made for a cartoon.
Okay.
You know, it probably look beautiful in animation, but I prefer it written. But there's a separate webcomic I wanted to make. It was called like Fitzy and Mitzi Save the World, End the World, something like that. It was about like two demon sisters that were banished from hell, and then like they come to the mortal world, and
Mm-hmm.
like they just like originally like it was gonna be like, oh, one of the sisters wants to actually like help out despite the king, or because she's like likes this girl, and the other sister just follows her bigger sister because like they were banished from hell for like centuries ago, and they don't really have like any kind of adult figure. Um, but I remember with the webcomic, I scrapped it because I was just like I wasn't interested in the story because I was like I don't really think this is something made for a webcomic, but for a cartoon, I was like this would be perfect for a cartoon. Um, it's just like I said, I was like thinking in my head, I was like, this is just Has Been Hotel, but they're not in hell, and there's more lesbians.
More, is that possible?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, there was like, and I remember like I really wanted them to be like, I remember there's like this joke like they're both succubuses. Well, one's a succubus, one's an incubus, but the incubus is transgender. But the joke was gonna be that like all succubi and incubi are bisexual because like you know it's like you're succubi slash incubi, you kind of want to get in with whoever. But one of the sisters was like the social outcast because she was only attracted to one gender, and we were like, "What? This girl's a freak. This is this." Um, but like, and I again, I was like, even when in my head, I was like, I know it's like you're used to adult stuff, so like I don't know why adult stuff kind of think we got to be offensive. I just kind of thought like in my head like I mean, even I was like, would this be offensive? Because I was just like, it was just like a dumb joke on playing on homophobia, where it's just like you're getting crap for being gay, but it's like for something completely opposite. It's like something
Right.
really silly. But I also like one of the sisters to be like someone who like she really liked to like present herself differently. Like she was like gonna be like she'd when she was like in her regular stuff, she'd look like a boy, but like when she'd fight, she'd like look like a girl.
Okay.
And like it was gonna be like teased, like could she possibly be like gender fluid? Like it was like a lot of stuff. Like I remember there was like angels, like they were like called guardian angels, but like it was implied that possibly the only reason they're guardian angels was like out of punishment and not actually out of anything good because some of these guardian angels are problematic. Like one who's like literally in a gang war, but she went to heaven because she saved someone's life. Or this guy who was like he was a rock star, but he was very he was like he always cheated on like every girlfriend. It was just like but like I never liked and there was like little things too, like there was like things like dark angels, like angels who were like cursed or like uh what was it like people could see it was like a really insane story, insane idea, and I really love to see that as a cartoon, because it was just like I really love the concept of heaven and hell. So I was like part of why like I really enjoy that show Hell of a Boss. It's just like I like when people explore hell in a really dynamic way. Um, but I wanted to show like my own version of hell, like the version of hell in my story was gonna be like Mad Max. Basically, it was like all desert. There's no cities. There's no anything. It's just people running around and fighting, and you can't kill each other in hell because like you can't die twice. But like there's like this whole thing where like there would be demons that would capture. There was like this whole thing like demons and sinners, and demons were like things created by the Hell King, which is why the sisters are banished, is because they weren't created by the Hell King. One of the demons like uh had sex with a mortal, and then that's why the girls were came to be, and that was like banned. And that's why they were sent to the mortal world. But like it was just like
Gotcha.
yeah. So I was like yeah, I'm talking about a story that was like it's likely never going to happen, but like I was just so deeply invested in it because like it was just such a really expansive, really weird story.
I mean, it's something that uh, honestly, you describing it, I'd be interested to see how that would pan out at some point. So again, as Mr. Moneybags, we'll give you support of all three of the studios. How about that? They're all working on the project for you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But, yeah, I mean, yeah. The only thing is like, the only problem is like, I just don't have it in because they're they're from hell, so you'd expect people from hell to be like bad people. But the problem with me is that like sometimes like I just don't like doing like the edgy effect. Even when I was like saying the stuff with like the lesbian bisexual thing, I was like, does that sound offensive? I don't want to hurt people's feelings, like,
Right.
and that's probably why I wouldn't really work with the cartoon because, like, as soon as someone's like, we could make this like really raunchy joke, or I'll be like, yeah, but do we have to? I mean, and then like it's like I almost sand down my own story. It's like this really gory mess, but then like I don't want any of my characters to like do anything too bad, because it's just like, again, it's like I'm always anal about my work,
Yeah.
and I'm also like serious about how other people perceive it. Um, but yeah.
No, I mean that's fair, but I mean nevertheless, like this idea, nevertheless, again, me personally, I'd be interested to see how it turns out. If you do I hope you get the opportunity at some point. But sadly, we have to come down from the dream scenario a little bit. We have to get back to reality, sadly.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna ask the ever so generic question: where do you hope to see yourself, say 5, 10 years from now?
Um, Other than like, making the cartoon, which is like really like the peak of the dream,
Okay.
I really just I don't know. No, I do know. I really want to see myself have a really decent webcomic that doesn't just like do well, but do enough where like I can literally make a living off of it because I'm working on something I love. Also like I can make money, I can take care of myself. Like when it comes to like online cloud, it's like it's I always want to dream big, but when it comes to like reality, it's like I really just want to be small. I don't care if it's like a really basic apartment with like that costs like I don't know 1K a month, and I'm doing that my entire life. I'm okay with that. I know people have like, oh God, I'm 40 years old and I'm not a millionaire, or I'm 40 years old. I never did anything amazing in my life, and I'm like, I don't know. I kind of did a lot of the stuff I already wanted. I have a lot of things that I've already wanted, and I'm happy with the. I like to appreciate the small things I have. So, I guess like the most expected outcome is just like I don't know. I'm just living in some small apartment in like Idaho or something, and I'm just still drawing and I'm still making comics, and hopefully I finally learned how to drive by then. But yeah,
There you go. I wouldn't go with Idaho because I'm not sure what's there. Go to Wyoming. Kanye's there. You might run into him. He might help produce the comic.
hopefully.
uh, well, as we're winding down this interview, I just have one last question that I want to ask. Obviously, you are like entrenched and deeply rooted with art in all different aspects. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
Man, I think art is like one of the most important things like ever. Like it is literally like I like no joke. Like when I hear about schools like taking away art, I'm like, just like I feel like you're taking away a part of like humanity in a way. Like just taking away like one of the few ways that people can express themselves is through art. Um, because it's just like it's a kind of like visual medium that like you really can't show anywhere else. Like writing is good, writing is decent. But I feel like art is just like you're really putting all your thoughts and all your ideas and all your passion and all like the things you care about into that. So yeah, I think art is super important. I think art is just really important. And it's like if I ever had kids, it's like I'd shove them like a bunch of sketchbooks and a bunch of like markers, and I'd be like, "Go nuts!" And it's like, hey parent, can you like not give me all this crap? And it's like, oh well, sorry, but I really want them to like, I'd really want them to be like, I want you to feel comfortable expressing yourself and how you draw, like my parents have. Like my parents, even sometimes they sometimes judge the stuff I draw because I don't draw a lot of humans. Um, they really do try to support me. They try
Right.
to encourage what I do because I feel like if I was given parents that were like, you got to stick with like, because like they're Nigerian parents, so Nigerian parents are like, you got to be a doctor, or you got to be a
Yeah.
teacher. They really want you to be, because they work hard, so they want you to work as hard as them to get like a really successful future. Um, but the fact that my parents were willing to take the risk and were willing to support me and allow me to do what I love to do, I think it really helped me because I, I'm gonna get a little. This is like the most personal I'm gonna get here.
Okay.
I There was like a point where like I was really like literally like I was like it felt like I was like in emotional pain. Like it was very bad. And in some ways, I kind of used art in like almost a toxic way, like in a way that kind of hurt me,
Okay.
in a way that was like not great. Um, which is like that's why I say art is important because like it can help you as much as it can hurt you. And it was just like I was almost like really deep into it. But after some stuff, after a while, after I get a little bit of therapy, I start drawing again. But I really care about drawing something that like it doesn't just speak to me anymore, but like it might speak to other people, but in ways that are like that makes them happy, that makes them feel better. I make art about a character who's transgender and she's scared to go outside, but like her supportive brother helps her come outside. And then, I get messages from people being like, wow, you made me figure myself out, or you made me so happy. Like Tulip Story. I would get so many messages from people just telling me just like it made me so happy that you wrote something so relatable and something that really helped me figure myself out or made me feel happy, feel comfortable. Like hearing people say like my art made me cry, hearing people say my bug art made them kinder to bugs, made them less afraid of bugs, make their own characters. It's like when I it's like when I used that art for like in a way that was almost painful for me, it was like it was never good. But when I used art in like basically like in a way that was like kind to myself and also kind to others, showing characters that were flawed but still worthy of like love and redemption, like Tulip, or showing characters that might seem weird and different, but they have a lot of heart and soul to them, like Arachne, like all these characters. Even like my upcoming comic, which is going to be about the other two plague doctor girlfriends,
Mm.
the brown one and the white nurse. Like those two, she has like her whole arc about like really struggling to trust people because like it's just I feel like it's really powerful. I think it's really good when people read these, see this art, see these emotions, see this care, not just the writing, but like their faces, like the kindness, the warm colors. I like to use a lot of pinks because I think pink is a very comforting color.
Right.
Um, and seeing like these people happy because it's like if they can be happy, if they can be different, if they can look weird or talk weird or sound weird or like just in any way that's not like what's expected of them and still be happy.
Mm-hmm.
um I think that can happen to me, and I think that making art that can say something like that or even anything else, I think that's very important. And that, yeah, that's why I just love art. I really feel like it's just a part of myself and it's helped my growth, and I think in some ways it's helped me become a better person just from seeing a face or seeing expressions. And yeah, yeah.
There you go. There you go. I can't think of a better way to word that myself. With that, that's all the questions I have. I've already I've already showered you with a bunch of praise, but I'm gonna shower you with more because it's my podcast. I do what I want. I've already established many times before that your art is probably one of the best examples of like web comics out there at this point. The characters that you keep presenting are absolutely outstanding. The stories are riveting from start to finish. I need to send you my medical bills for how many times you broke my heart. Um, but like getting the chance to sit down and chat with you, hear your backstory, hear how much time, love, and effort has gone into every minute detail with everything that you do, it makes me appreciate you a whole lot more than I already did, because I gave a lot of major respect for you, like ever since I saw the one that really grabbed my attention first. I had seen the Plague Doctors before, but it was the first like Spider Mom like comic. That was when I first heard of you. And I've just been absolutely in love with everything that you've been pushing out ever since then. And you know, whether it be like a full-fledged comic of, you know, why, you know, this mother like lost her mother, to something as simple as, you know, two butterflies that just happen to, you know, be talking about how they're dressed or something like that. Like the variety of stuff that you're pushing out there is absolutely outstanding. The art style that you present is one of the best I've seen out there. And
Thank you.
if this is what you're doing just right now with, you know, with how young you are, I can only imagine, like, with more time and effort that goes into that stuff, and with the proper opportunities given to you, I can only imagine just how far you can go with this stuff. So I'm gonna be one of thousands at this point, and hopefully millions someday. This is gonna be rooting for you every single step of the way. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for providing some genuine comics, and thank you for your time at the end of the day.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I'm actually, again, I'm glad the camera can't see me because I'm just like blushing. I'm just like smiling so much. That's like the nicest things anyone has ever said to me.
I'm just being honest. That's how I am with this podcast. If nothing else, this podcast should be a testament of just how much people should appreciate your comics. So,
thank you so much.
now for people that for some reason don't already know, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
Plug myself with people at home.
Yeah, like, you know, where can they find you if they haven't heard of you
Oh,
before?
man, I am good at this stuff. Everywhere is my Instagram, my Twitter, and do I have a third account? No, I don't.
You have a Patreon.
But my Patreon. My Patreon, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Patreon are all Idolomantises, which is IDOLOMANTISES, Idolomantises, and those are like the main factors. My Patreon has like really exclusive content, behind the scenes content. I have a Discord there as well if you want to actually talk to me. I even have a Q&A there if you want to ask like the other specifics about me. Because like on my main, I try to engage with people, but there's just some things I can't answer.
Right.
But yeah, my Twitter and my Instagram is where you can find my main content, my usual stuff. I post, pretty frequently. I try to not do it daily anymore, but enough for like, you know, people are interested.
Yeah.
I have more comics on the way, more bug girls, and more plague doctors on the way, and some other stuff too that I don't want to say what it is. But yeah, and I hope people who aren't my followers who are listening to this hopefully don't find me too annoying, and hopefully, and if they do, maybe they'll just like my art and ignore my voice or the way I act, because I can be pretty cringe. But I hope that like my art, my content, I hope that the way it affected others, I hope that it affects you. Not even in like a serious way, but in a way that's like, oh, that was nice. That made me happy.
So, something to where you feel different after experiencing it one way or another.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Also, before I end this podcast, I want to give a major shout out to my producer, Maria, aka Tipsy J Hearts, for making this happen, this meeting or whatnot. I was so glad that she was the one to help make this happen. I really do appreciate her, and I appreciate you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for bringing me here.
Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Final words. I would say that don't feel like that what you're working on, it doesn't matter, even if it doesn't explode in popularity, even if, you know, you think people aren't engaging with it, you know, you want to keep doing what you love, because eventually you might find that audience, and there's nothing that feels better than making what you love and getting rewarded for it. And draw more sexy bug girls, because we need that in the world. That's it.
There you go. That's a good way to end on. With that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, hasta luego, mi amigos.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me sparks in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can't open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thanks for listening to the Apocalypse Podcast Network. For more great podcasts, go to apocalypsepodcastnetwork.com. And remember, every time you support one of our sponsors, you're supporting the podcast you just heard.